Princess Lila lived in a castle made of moonlight and dreams. She had hair as blue as a summer sky, which flowed all the way down to her feet. On her head sat a tiny silver crown, and this crown was very special indeed. It didn't just sit there looking pretty. It twinkled and shone with a gentle light whenever Lila was feeling brave. It was a small, secret signal. A little star just for her, reminding her of the strength she held inside. Her heart was as kind as her crown was bright, and she loved to explore the meadows that surrounded her home, always looking for a new friend or a new flower to greet. Lila wore a dress that was just as magical as her crown. It was woven from pink rose. Wonderful thing about the dress was its secret power. Whenever Lila made a wish, tiny sparkles would dance all over the fabric, glowing softly like captured fireflies. The sparkles would swirl and shimmer, growing brighter and brighter as her wish took flight, sending its gentle magic out into the world. It was a dress for dreaming, a dress for hoping, and a dress for making wonderful things happen. She was never alone on her adventures, for she had the most wonderful friends. First, there was Finn, the cricket knight, a plump, round little cricket with a shell as shiny as a polished green emerald. He wore a tiny helmet made from an acorn cap and carried a sword no bigger than a pine needle, but his heart was as big and brave as any knight in the kingdom. He would chirp brave songs and stand tall, ready to protect the princess from any grumpy caterpillar or prickly thistle they might happen to meet on their path. Her other dear friends were just as special. Olivia the wise owl, with her soft speckled brown feathers and enormous gentle eyes, was their guide. She had a motherly way about her, always hooting softly with sensible advice and knowing the safest paths through the woods. And then, there was Grumble the beetle, a chubby fellow with a shiny dark shell. Grumble often complained with a low buzzing sound, but he had a secret. When he was happy, his sparkling wings would shimmer with all the colors of the rainbow, a dazzling, beautiful sight for everyone to see. One sunny morning as the friends wandered through the whispering woods, a strange chill crept into the air. The birds stopped their cheerful singing, and the sun seemed to hide behind a sudden, lonely cloud. A path that was usually warm and friendly was now covered in a thin layer of sparkling, delicate frost, even though it was the middle of summer. Olivia the owl fluffed her feathers and looked around with her big, wise eyes, a worried expression on her face. "Something is not right," she hooted softly, her voice a low whisper. "This is not the work of nature. A cold magic is near." As they walked on, the frost grew thicker, crunching under Finn's tiny cricket feet. The trees, once green and full of life, now looked sad, their leaves drooping and coated in an icy sheen. Beautiful flowers were frozen solid inside delicate ice crystals, their colors trapped and muted. Grumble the beetle shivered, his shiny wings tucked tightly away. "It's too cold," he buzzed, his usual grumpy tone now filled with real worry. "My wings won't even think about sparkling in this cold. It feels unfriendly. It feels like winter has come to steal the summer away from us." Suddenly they saw her. Standing in a clearing ahead was the sorceress, a figure as elegant as she was frightening. She was tall and slender, draped in a cloak the color of a frozen lake, and her skin had an icy blue tint. She held a long crystal staff that pulsed with a cold, mesmerizing light, seeming to draw all the warmth from the air around it. Her presence was both beautiful and terrifying, like a perfect but deadly icicle. She wasn't shouting or making a fuss. She simply stood there, her quiet power making the whole forest hold its breath in fear. The sorceress raised her crystal staff, and a wave of shimmering cold energy flowed out, freezing a nearby stream in an instant. "This forest is mine now," she said, her voice like the cracking of ice. "Its warmth and its life will feed my power." Her eyes, as sharp and blue as her staff, fell upon Lila and her friends. A faint cold smile touched her lips. She didn't see a princess and her companions. She saw a tiny spark of warmth that she wanted to extinguish, a small pocket of happiness that she was determined to turn into ice and silence. Seeing the fear in her friend's eyes and the sadness in the frozen flowers, Princess Lila felt a tremor of her own fear. The sorceress was so powerful, and the air was so cold it stung her cheeks. Finn the cricket knight, despite his chattering legs, drew his tiny pine needle sword and stood in front of her, trying to look as big and brave as he possibly could. Grumble the beetle huddled behind a frozen mushroom, his usual grumbling silenced by the overwhelming chill. Lila knew they were all looking to her, waiting for her to do something, anything to make this right. Taking a deep breath, Lila remembered what her twinkling crown meant. It was a reminder to be brave, even when she felt small and scared. She took a step forward, her little chin held high. As she did, a tiny faint glimmer started on her crown, a spark of courage coming to life. She looked at the sorceress, not with anger, but with a determined look in her eyes. "You can't take the warmth from this forest," Lila said, her voice shaking just a little but growing stronger with every word. "The flowers and the animals need the sun. This is their home." They had faced a great and scary challenge, but they had done it together. Lila learned that day that the greatest magic of all wasn't just in a wishing dress or a twinkling crown, but in the love of friends and the courage you find in your heart when you stand together.